Hi everyone. Oh, holy shit, it's dark in here. Can we get some lights? There we go. That looks a lot better. Hi everyone. Welcome back, and so soon too. I made a joke in the previous part of this video, go check that out if you haven't seen it yet, where I said the chance of me working on this to get it out quickly were very low, and that actually hasn't changed. I just know that I have to get it out sooner rather than later because the Monster Hunter demo came out, and I'm just going to be playing that until the full game comes out in March, then I'll be playing that until the day I die, so I figured I'd at least upload something before I'm consumed by the grind. Anyway, games in 2020, Part 2! This time around we have seven great games to cover, and I'm gonna try and cover them in a little bit faster than last time because spending that much time editing gave me brain damage. Plus I admit, sitting through a 40-minute video is pretty hard. Same rules as last time, I'll go in release date order, early access games using their 1.0 release dates, you get it. I don't think there's much else I have to talk about, so let's just dive into our first game. You see, even though this video has more games in it, this one will probably be a lot faster because most of these games just boil down to me saying, "It's fun," or "I hate it," which is pretty nice. Anyway, VALORANT released pretty much out of nowhere. Riot revealed at League 10 in October of 2019, it's very strange that I can't just say last year since it's 2021 now, that they had a whole slew of new games in the mix, and one of them, from the limited amounts of gameplay we saw, looked like Riot's take on a team shooter, like games like Overwatch or TF2. I don't think I'm the only one that thought the League 10 games were a long way away, which made VALORANT's explosion to the top of Twitch charts all the more jarring. The timeline was like a reveal in October 2019, a first look at gameplay in January 2020, and then suddenly the game was ready for a closed beta test in April, and the full game came out 2 months later in June. Now I know I said I wouldn't talk about beta releases, but in this specific case it's important to talk about because VALORANT's beta test period is part of the thing that makes it so special. I want you to take a guess at how VALORANT hosted its closed beta. Was it pay to access like a lot of other companies? Did they give the game the popular content creators only to help spread the word of the game? Did they give the first X amount of players to register access? It's actually none of those, great job, you suck at guessing. Unfunny joke aside, yes, VALORANT's closed beta distributed access keys via the Twitch drop system. All you had to do is make a Riot Games account, make a Twitch account, link those two together, watch any streamer playing VALORANT for a collective 2 hours to be eligible. Remember how in the last video I talked about how Runeterra's free-to-play model actually functions as a free-to-play model and rewards players for the time they put into the game instead of the money they put into the game? VALORANT did a similar thing with its closed beta. You were rewarded for investing time in watching streams, and the more streams you watched, the higher chances you had of receiving a drop, letting you play the game yourself. Obviously, they had to make the time scaling fall off later, so they didn't promote spending 48 hours watching streams to their viewers, but the point still stands. Now, why did this help VALORANT's initial launch so much? There's two main reasons, and I'll try to cover them quick and easy. Reason number uno, it allowed Riot to manage the servers. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A game you've really been looking forward to announces a demo or beta before the game actually comes out. And when it's finally time to play it, so many people want to play the game at the same time that the servers implode and nobody gets to have fun. This happened with Dragon Ball FighterZ, this happened with Genshin Impact, and its hilarious 1 kilobyte per second download speeds, and it even happened to Power School whenever I came back to virtual school after a 3-day weekend. Riot, being the smart, cool, awesome billion-dollar company that they are, circumvented this issue by slowly dripping in the amount of people allowed into the game. Let's say day 3 of drops is going well, but the servers need a quick tune-up, Riot can freeze the Twitch drops, upgrade and optimize the servers, then reopen the drops and not only let in the people waiting, but let more people in after that. They essentially managed to make an open beta that, besides some minor polish issues, felt like a fully functioning game that didn't crash every time you tried to open it. Reason letter B, it was the freest marketing ever created on the internet. This part is pretty self-explanatory, but in case you are stupid and don't get what I'm trying to say, I will summarize. Having people have to watch your game in order to gain access to play it themselves builds buzz around the game like never before. Think about it. There's more people watching VALORANT, so VALORANT is appearing on the front page of Twitch everywhere. If there's people who only kinda wanna play the game, by the time they get their drop, they've consumed enough content of the game that they're pretty enthused about it. Wanna know how I know that? Because that's who I was. If someone's friend gets a drop before their other friends and they play a couple matches, now all of a sudden it's, hey, you guys should totally play VALORANT, this game is sick, and now their friends are watching the game and getting excited and the cycle continues. Do you want to know how I know that? Because that's who I was. This game topped charts on Twitch for almost the entire beta run, and even though a fraction of those people have stuck around to keep playing VALORANT after the hype has died down, that fraction is still leaps and bounds bigger than the fraction of people who stick around for other games after betas. Okay, enough marketing, nobody really cares. Let's talk about the game. That's what this is for. I know I said this would be short, but I just can't help it. I love talking. I can't go outside right now, okay? This microphone is all I have. Thankfully, Valorant's gameplay is so simple that I can explain it in less than 30 seconds, so I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Valorant is a 5v5 team shooter. You play on one of 5 different maps as one of 13 different agents. One team is attacking, they have a bomb and are either trying to plant the bomb and get it to explode or kill everyone on the defending team to win the round. The defending team is either trying to kill the attacking team before the bomb is planted or defuse the bomb before it explodes. Every round, you're given money based on the variety of factors, and that money is used to buy guns, armor, and abilities for your agent. Each agent has different abilities they can use during the round to give them an advantage. Every agent has an ultimate ability that can severely turn the tides of battle. The first team to win 13 total rounds wins the game, and after 12 rounds are played, attacking and defending teams switch sides. Barely, but I did it. I could probably save a few seconds though. At the beginning I said that Valorant at first looked like Riot's attempt to make a team shooter akin to the likes of Overwatch, but they instead made a tactical shooter akin to the likes of Counter-Strike, and also akin to the likes of Overwatch because there's abilities. What's the difference between these two genres? A lot. For instance, a team shooter is way fucking easier, I'll tell you that. In Valorant, just like in real life, if you get shot, you die. Everybody has 100 health, and it can only go up to 150 with heavy shields. Most guns kill with between 1 and 5 shots, so there's very little chance of you escaping a gunfight alive by running away. This game places a lot more focus on aim than any other genre. You escape gunfights alive by being better at hitting your opponent than they are at hitting you. This can also make the game incredibly frustrating to be bad at, since there is a really small chance that you will ever win gunfights if you're worse than the player you're fighting. Besides League of Legends' ranked climb, since the game is just toxic by nature, I'd say Valorant has one of the most toxic competitive loops. It feels horrible to lose in this game, like horrible, which leads you wanting to play more and improve at the game, but then you'll probably just keep on losing for a lot more games until you improve, which makes you feel even worse, which makes you start tilting, and suddenly you're not learning from your mistakes anymore because you're just upset. Nowadays, I love Valorant because I can just mess around with my friends who know I'm not too great at aiming or callouts or whatever, but even when I wasn't that high ranked, the act of trying to rank up felt miserable since progress was noticeable, but after a 3-day break or an especially tilting match could lead me tumbling back down to the slippery slope of being bad. What Valorant brings that's new to the tactical shooter genre is agent abilities, like I mentioned before. Each agent feels unique and exciting to play since all of their abilities do different things. Do you want to support your team with smokes while also being tricky and hard to predict? Try Omen, who can use his teleports to gain a lot of distance or feign an approach to surprise attack an unsuspecting enemy. Do you like eliminating options for your opponent, forcing them to walk right into the trap you've set up? Then play Viper, whose toggleable wall and smoke can take down choke points instantly, but realistically just play Omen instead since Viper sucks. Do you like being a degenerate like me? Then play Jett, who comes equipped with an easy, oops I missed my sniper shot, in the form of an instant dash in any direction, and an ultimate that basically gives you a free gun for a round, so if you've been budgeting poorly and not getting any kills, you can pop your ult and have enough money for a rifle in the next round. 3 examples is enough, but the point is, the agents all serve a different purpose, some better than others, and there's definitely an agent for everyone. Except if you want to play Viper, then just probably quit. Alright, this section has gone on for too long, so I'll just wrap it up here. Valorant is an awesome tactical shooter that, in my opinion, brought an incredibly outdated genre back into the spotlight, and did so with excellent gameplay and marketing. Do I like this game? A lot, as long as I'm with friends who can carry my scrub ass, like they are in the background footage that you're watching right now. Do I recommend this game? I mean, if you have the mental fortitude to survive losing a lot, then go for it, it's fun. Bonus if you can find a good group of friends to play with. This game drives me mad. It had everything: a perfect launch, some really fun gameplay, and a dedicated dev team working on frequent updates. So, what the hell happened to Fall Guys? Literally everything. I got this game a couple days after it came out and played 15 hours in the first 3 days I owned it. I only have 16 hours in the game in total. This game was fun. It had its charm, but the charm eventually wears off, and you're left with a very funny game that has some connection issues and still doesn't let me pick my own damn name. And then, just when I think the game will get better with the help of its devs, the devs spend their entire lives of the game dedicating trying to get rid of cheaters, even though the anti-cheat service was something that's supposed to be in almost every multiplayer game in 2020. It's a standard of the genre! And then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, the social media team, which was for a while a really funny and interactive team, is now spewing a bunch of Reddit humor that nobody has laughed at since 2017. Every other sentence it's something about Yeetus or thick bunkus or God knows whatever the fuck. And so naturally it makes the game less fun to play, because you know how Undertale was super unpopular because there was a fandom that was a bunch of weirdos? Imagine that, but it's the face of the damn game. You follow Fall Guys on Twitter and you see this. And despite all of this, the social media team says it's gaining them followers, even though their game is losing players by the second. Because of them. The game drives me beyond mad, because how do you squander such a golden opportunity? Nothing has changed since I played back in July. There's only like 7 new modes. God, dear God, when I had to record footage for this game for the video, I spent 90 seconds in queue, probably 30 seconds total in loading times, and the entire recording is 7 fucking minutes. But there's only like 5 minutes of gameplay in there. That is the exact same when I played in July. On top of that, they've removed the old naming system, which was already removing the system they had before where you could, you know, name yourself. You used to just have a number code, and now it's not even that. You get these horribly generated 3-word usernames, but the random words that are generated can have shit like meme and yeetus in them. And it's just, how did any of this happen? How did they mess up so bad? And why? Why am I so upset about something like this? Juxtaposition. Noun. The fact of 2 things placed together with a contrasting effect. While Fall Guys is a game I much despise as of late, Risk of Rain 2 is a game that I really like. I have an abusive relationship with roguelikes. I love roguelikes so much. Except online Mario Maker levels. Fuck those. I own so many roguelikes just because I really like playing through them and getting my ass handed to me, and then playing through them again and getting my ass handed to me, and so on and so forth. For those of you not well versed with the term roguelike, it's basically a game genre where you, the player, attempt to complete the entire game in one sitting, and if you die, you have to start all the way from the beginning. I call my relationship with roguelikes abusive because I own so many of them and I've beaten only 2 of them. Another draw of the roguelike genre is that they're hard as hell. Every one is a slew of different abilities, items, monsters, and bosses that you all have to learn at the same time to stand a chance against them. And once you learn all of those, there's a chance you get unlucky and lose anyway. Both of those things often lead me to jumping away from a roguelike because, yeah, I love the idea and atmosphere of Slay the Spire, but I don't feel like sticking around for another chance to draw the cards I need on time when I could just go play something else. The 2 exceptions to this rule are Hades, which I'll talk about next, and Risk of Rain 2. Risk of Rain 2 asks the question, what if roguelike was multiplayer? And that's where the main draw of the game was born. However, even playing this game solo is a blast. Risk is a fully 3D roguelike that starts with picking a character to play in a difficulty setting, as well as some artifacts which sorta act like mods. The characters all do different things and you can find a playstyle with one of them that you like. For example, the character I'm using, the Captain, is fairly immobile, but makes up for it with a hard-hitting shotgun blast for their attack. On the other hand, my friend is using the Commando, who trades some of the firepower of the Captain in exchange for a combat slide that can send them really far across the map with enough movement speed. The items are what make this game so interesting. Items are randomly dropped on a normal run, meaning every run will be different, sometimes in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. Sometimes you'll get the God run, with a double jump, double movement speed, and a ukulele that makes electricity zap everything near what you're attacking, and missiles that fire every time you shoot that will deal big damage, and then sometimes you get a thing that heals you whenever you're standing still. Spoilers, you can't stand still if you want to live in this game. And sometimes a shield that is very small and actually screws you because it makes you susceptible to getting one shot. I gotta talk about the multiplayer because it's a pretty standout feature of the game. If you ever get bored of playing the game by yourself, you can queue up with 3 buddies and do a run together. This adds a lot of replay value. If you were getting bored with procedurally generated maps, the random items, and the different characters to choose from, you can now do that with up to 4 friends. I guess up to 3, including yourself, but another great thing about the multiplayer is that it makes the game more challenging at times. Single player, don't get me wrong, is really hard, but you can eventually figure out the tempo and decision making of each level that makes the game pretty easy to complete. None of that carries over to multiplayer. Multiplayer mode is the exact same mode, which means the same amount of chests. With only so many chests, there's only so many items, which means that splitting them between you all becomes a game within itself. Deciding which person would benefit the most from X item is really fun to figure out. Doing multiplayer runs on the highest difficulty is something that only the strongest of friendships can overcome, and it's super fun once you do it. The final thing I want to talk about are just some little extra things that the game has that other roguelikes, to my knowledge, don't. And those are infinite levels and artifacts. We'll start with infinite levels, because this one is pretty self-explanatory. The 1.0 patch of Risk 2 added a final boss at stage 6, which I won't spoil, because it's more fun to experience yourself. However, if you want to keep going, you can choose to skip the boss and loop the first 5 stages over. This can go on as long as you want it to, and if you finish it by either fighting the final boss at the end or obliterating, which counts the run as finished without you having to fight anything. The difficulty of the enemies you fight scales with time, so the game gets harder and harder the longer you go. I've had 3-hour games before just because I wanted to keep going, and that's a really enjoyable mechanic to have. It also feels natural in this game. If you're playing well enough, the enemies are scaling with you pretty normally, not being too easy or hard. And the second thing is artifacts. Artifacts are basically mods built into the game. These mods can do a variety of things, but some of them just make the game hilarious. The mods we're using in the background footage makes items drop off of monsters instead of chests, double the amounts of monsters that can spawn, and then lets you choose which item you want within that rarity. This, naturally, breaks the entire balance of the game, since you can create the perfect build to destroy every monster and boss that looks at you funny.
Hey, so that's mini mush.
It doesn't matter if you're invisible, I'm gonna strike you down with the might of Zeus. This also lets you make some meme builds, like a build where you kill things by having them hit you, or one of my friend's personal masterpieces, the run build, where you build full movement speed and get an item that shoots fireballs whenever you're sprinting, and slowly killing things by sprinting around the map at Mach 5. Now, artifacts like these obviously don't feel as satisfying as beating the game normally, but it does feel satisfying in a different way. Sometimes, you don't want to think. Sometimes, you just want to blow shit up. That's what the artifacts are for, when you just want to do some stupid stuff with your friends and have a blast doing it. There's also some artifacts that make the game harder, but I personally don't use those ones, so I don't have much to talk about it. Anyway, do I like this game? Yes, I do. Do I recommend this game? It's one of the funniest and most enjoyable roguelikes I've played, and definitely a great time with friends. If you're not gonna get it though, just look up the final boss fight because it's really funny to watch. Okay, this section was a mess, I just kinda spilled all my thoughts onto the page. Now let's move on to our second roguelike of the evening. I kind of sounded like Mario in that last part. Yahoo! I think it's so awesome that this is the first year I can talk about an indie game winning Game of the Year. I mean, seriously, despite all odds, Hades managed to win over Jeff Keighley's Gamer Heart, and now Supergiant Games are up there with the big boys in terms of game developers. Way to go, you guys. Your hard work on Hades definitely deserves... Wait, what's up? Hades didn't win Game of the Year. Okay, fine, I think the game is phenomenal and unlike any roguelike ever made before it, but sure, I guess it's not everybody's genre of choice. What did you say one instead? Oh. Oh, okay. Can you just give me a moment, I'll be right back. Ah! So, Hades. I'm certainly not the first and definitely not the last to talk about Hades. Yes, the game is just as incredible as everybody says it is. Hades is a roguelike, just like our old buddy Risk of Rain over there, but Hades, like a lot of other roguelikes, doesn't go on infinitely. You play as Zagreus, son of Hades and Persephone, and you're completely fed up with living down in the underworld, so your goal is to try and escape. You travel to 4 different locations, starting in the depths of Tartarus, climbing to the Inferno of Asphodel, trudging to the beauty of Elysium, and finally making it to the Temple of Styx before fighting the final boss and completing a run. If you succeed. Big emphasis on if, because this game is hard as hell. Get it? The thing that makes Hades so different from other roguelikes is that there's significantly less RNG on a run-to-run basis. Traversing a floor will see you going from room to room destroying monsters like in Enter the Gungeon, but you actually get to choose which room you want to go to next, and it'll tell you the reward you get for clearing that room. This allows you to make different decisions based on what kind of run you're having. The Hades equivalent of Risk of Rain's items are called boons. Each god of the Parthenon can give you different boons that all do different things based on the god you chose. For example, Zeus specializes with lightning bolts. and Aphrodite is focused around charming enemies to make them do less damage. Lastly, every run you get to choose from one of 6 different weapons that you use, those being the sword, spear, bow, shield, gauntlets, and gun. Each one offers a unique playstyle from the others, and eventually you'll unlock different weapon aspects, which adds 4 different forms to each weapon you can choose from, that each do different things. That's basically 24 weapons to choose from, and since rooms are procedurally generated and because it's a roguelike, you won't run out of content that quickly. Because Hades is a little less RNG than some other roguelikes, that gave the developers the okay to make the game really hard. Enemies do a lot of damage and shoot attacks everywhere. You only have 50 life to start out with. There's traps all over the floor, and if you're dashing mindlessly, chances are you're gonna dash right into one and lose a bunch of HP. And once you finally mastered the normal difficulty, in order to get more rewards, you have to increase the difficulty with the Pact of Punishment, a reward for beating the game once that lets you pick and choose difficulty options you want to add, which can range from things like traps doing more damage, to having bosses having entirely new phases and attack patterns for you to figure out. I didn't want to make this too long, but lastly I'll touch on the story. I won't describe it in detail, but the game's story is incredible, and I highly recommend the purchase just to see it unfold. Do I like the game? Hell yeah, literally. Its amazing story, writing, and gameplay, all pieced together with one of the most thematically perfect soundtracks in any game I've played, is a joy to play through. Do I recommend this game? Literally any day of the week. It's only $25 at full price, which honestly they should be charging way more, and it goes on sale basically all the time for $20. Buying this game for Fall Guys money is a steal, and I think everyone should pick it up, even if you've never played a roguelike before. And my final statement is that it's better than The Last of Us 2. If you had told me 5 years ago, when I had just bought Rivals of Aether on Xbox to play with my brother after watching Alpharad play it, that it would, over those 5 years, grow into my favorite competitive platform fighter and one of my favorite games of all time, I probably wouldn't believe it. The idea of a platform fighter that isn't Smash even coming close to how much I like Smash just didn't make sense. But that's what happened. For reference, this is probably how I'd rank the platform fighters I've played. Brawlhalla's at the bottom because as much as I love the game, which trust me I really do, it has some problems with its mechanics that make it unique, but also a bit tedious. Playing it competitively is just a lot of dodging around your opponent until they throw out a move slow enough for you to punish them. Next is Melee, and I want to clarify that I love watching Melee and playing Melee. I just think it's a better competitive game than Smash Ultimate, but after going back and playing some Ultimate offline with friends and family, I can't in good faith put it below Melee. Then it's Smash Ultimate, which I haven't played very often at all in the last half a year, since Ultimate Online literally made me go insane, ask my family members. Seriously, if this game had even half decent online, it would be incredible, since playing this game offline has got to be one of my favorite experiences in gaming. But coming in at number 1, above both of my favorite Smash games and Brawlhalla, which I've sunk 150 hours into, Rivals of Aether Definitive Edition blew everything else away. So how did it do that? Rivals takes a lot of inspirations from Melee. It has wave dashing, something that the Smash series has really dropped the ball on in recent history, and the gameplay is generally more fast-paced and focused on free-flow combos, just like Melee. There are 3 core things with the game that I think make it so incredible to play, and unique to other platform fighters I've played, and those are wave dashing, parrying, and hit falling. Wave dashing is a term that's thrown around the Smash community all the time, and for good reason too. What wave dashing is when you jump and immediately air dodge diagonally down into the ground, which will cause you to slide a little bit on the ground. This adds an extra layer of movement to the game that can be used for a bunch of things competitively, but most importantly, it's just fun as hell to slide around the map. The wave dash also allows for something called a waveland, where you do a wave dash onto a platform and slide off of it. This allows you to quickly change your direction midair and slingshot yourself across the stage to try and sneak in a quick hit or escape from your opponent. This is also really fun. Parrying attacks is Rivals' version of shielding. Instead of holding out a shield like you do in Smash, pressing shield in Rivals will make you glow black for a second, and if anybody hits you during that flash, you'll negate the damage of the move and stun them for a time based on how strong the move was. This both speeds up the gameplay by removing the times people are sitting in shield, and rewards better players for being able to parry a person mashing attacks. Also, parrying projectiles will completely reflect them, rewarding players for being able to successfully parry a projectile, or rewarding the person using them for having to mix up their timing and get a free hit. Lastly, hit falling is a mechanic where after hitting an aerial attack, you can instantly fall out of it to reduce a lot of landing lag. I'm not sure if I've explained that right, but basically it allows you to perform a lot more comboing attacks by successfully hit falling. This obviously has its competitive merit and definitely speeds up the pace of the game, but it's also just really fun to hit more buttons, and hit falling lets you do that. There's plenty more I want to talk about, but I don't want to make this section too long. There's many other things I've yet to talk about, like there being no ledge, which I think is an awesome change for this game, and an incredible soundtrack, which, coming from someone who doesn't really like chiptune, don't even get me started on how little I like Pokemon music, it's so good. To sum it up, Rivals of Aether Definitive Edition is a game that's been 5 years in the making, and goddamn did it age well. Do I like this game? So much. Do I recommend this game? Yes. Play it right now. I mean, except if you're gonna get it on Switch, the internet is kinda shitty on there. Just buy it on PC if you're able. Alright, this one's quick, I promise. Yes, it's true, this was originally gonna be a full part, but like the rest of them where I talked about this game and what I like and whatever. However, I've been playing a lot more Genshin recently, and this footage is really outdated, and there are some new things I want to talk about that I don't have footage for, and I don't want to delay this video any further. So Genshin's getting its own video. I was gonna do another small part for this game just so you felt more inclined to watch the other video, but I want to save my best bits for the video itself, so you're gonna have to forgive me. If I do what I'm planning to do in my head, the Genshin video will be out in like February/March-ish so that I can have a video out before I disappear until Monster Hunter Rise comes out, because that demo has me fiending, and I'm gonna make a video on it immediately. Anyways, Genshin video soon, let's do the last game. Wait, shit, I've already done this bit. I love Zelda, man. Easily my favorite series of all time. The Legend of Zelda will always house some of my favorite games of all time, and very few games have been able to capture me in their enthralling worlds and characters like this franchise has. I also love the original Hyrule Warriors. Hyrule Warriors on the Switch is still probably in my top 10 first-party Switch games. The polish on that game is incredible, its story is fun, and it really does feel like the perfect game to celebrate the franchise for everything it's done. Yo, editors know I didn't realize that last one rhymed. That was kind of sick. So when I heard they were making another Hyrule Warriors, I was excited. Then when I heard they were making another Hyrule Warriors based on the events before Breath of the Wild, which was, you know, the part that I wanted to know more about after finishing Breath of the Wild's unfortunately barren story, I was even more excited. So what do I think? I love it. But there is one small thing that bothers me. I know it's against my style and I'm supposed to explain what I don't like first, but I'll start with the good. This game's characters all feel unique and fun to play. The battle mechanics of this game still maintains the Warriors gameplay of press one button until you can press another one for a strong attack that charges up a meter that lets you press another button to instantly kill everything on the screen. But it does so in a way that's so Breath of the Wild. The weak point gauge from the original is still there, but this time it can be opened up by Sheikah Slate runes and damaged by flurry rushes. Aerial attacks allow you to pull out your paraglider and fly over to more enemies before landing with a plunging attack. And you can shield surf. Just like in Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, the story is way better than it should be for a Warriors game. The story follows Link, Zelda, and the rest of the champions in their path to help save Hyrule from Calamity Ganon 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, all the while accompanied by a tiny guardian who's just trying to save Link and the gang from a future he saw them in where everyone dies. I won't go into the rest for spoiler reasons. I'll be honest, I haven't finished the game either, but the end of the game is really well done, I spoiled it for myself, and definitely worth the play. Finally, the overworld map is such a good addition to this style of game. Breaking up the story quests with various tutorial missions or delivery quests lets you take a break from the story and do something else without feeling overwhelmed. It also takes some of the content out of the secret item found in place in secret places on this specific map category, which I usually don't like because it removes secret things, but in a game like Hyrule Warriors, it's much appreciated since the content load is never ending. So that's all I like about the game. And I definitely think the game is worth buying, but there's one small thing that I need to rant about because I think if I rant about it, I won't be upset about it going forward. This game was not well optimized for Switch hardware. This doesn't really piss me off for most games on the Switch. I've never really been one that cares much about frame rate or graphics or whatnot. Hell, I'm currently playing Horizon Zero Dawn on a computer that can only run it with its lowest specs. Needless to say, graphics don't really matter to me as long as the game's good, which I'm sure most of us agree on. I'm sure if Age of Calamity wasn't the only game like it on the Switch, I wouldn't be upset with how it performs. But unfortunately, it's not the only game like it. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition runs at 1080p 60fps at almost all times, unless you're fighting 400 enemies and 3 bosses all at the same time on the Valley of Seers, in which case it'll drop down to like 40-ish frames. Age of Calamity feels like it's running at 50 frames per second with frequent drops much lower when there's more detailed backgrounds on screen, and this is really disappointing because I know they can do better. They've shown me they can do better. Couple this with all of the stuff coming out about Nintendo being super shitty, which, let's be honest, we already knew, we just didn't want to admit it, and this part leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Sure, it's a spin-off game, and sure, I really doubt Breath of the Wild 2 will have this issue at all, but it's still really scary to think that Nintendo would choose to not optimize a Zelda game. Like, a Zelda game. One of their biggest franchises they've ever made. So, did I like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity? Yes, it's still a very fun game despite the issues I have. Do I recommend this game? If you like Zelda or the old Hyrule Warriors game, or both, definitely pick it up. The story is very interesting and the gameplay is as fun as ever. Age of Calamity is a great game, but the frame rate is a little choppy, and I hope that this isn't foreshadowing for future AAA games on the Switch. Whoa! We're done. In the end, I give 2020 a solid, 7 out of 10 for games. There were plenty of good ones and Fall Guys. I'm not gonna rank these games because they're all wildly different and I'm not sure I would be able to, but I would say I had an enjoyable time playing all of them at their peak. At their peak, I do not enjoy playing Fall Guys anymore. Let's hope 2021 has some great games in store for us. With Monster Hunter Rise coming out this March, I have some pretty high hopes for this year in gaming. Also, let's hope this year is better than 2020 all around too. Please, I just want to go outside again, man. Holy shit. Anyway, I tried my best to make this a really short video, and then it only ended up being 7 minutes shorter than the other one, which I said it was going to be much shorter than. And the more I talk about it, the longer it becomes. So my bad. As always, thank you all for watching. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you really enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one, which will probably be the Genshin video, but I don't know when that's coming out, whenever I feel like it, I guess, but regardless, I'll see you then. Bye!